All right, let's get right into it. We're about to completely tear apart all the myths you've ever heard about what a genius really looks like. So forget that fast-talking, know-it-all character you always see in the movies. Today, we're going to dig into the hidden habits, the pretty unique biology, and yeah, the heavy emotional burdens that often come with having an exceptionally high IQ.
So just picture this for a second. You're in a meeting at work or maybe an argument with friends. Who do you think is the smartest person there? I'm willing to bet the answer is almost never who you think it is.
See, on one side, you've got the loud talker. You know this person, they're super confident, they're dropping stats left and right, and everyone just kind of nods along. But the real genius? Well, that's often the quiet observer. And it's not that they're struggling to keep up. No. Their brain is just playing a completely different game. While everyone else is busy trying to sound smart, they're focused on one thing, figuring out what's actually true. True intelligence, it often hides in plain sight. Now, here's what's really fascinating. The actual habits of a high IQ mind often look like the complete opposite of intelligence from the outside. Seriously, they can look like insecurity, maybe hesitation, or even like they're being a little slow, but these are actually signals of a mind that is working on a much, much deeper level. And it really comes down to these 4 core habits. They ask super simple questions because they're not just trying to add to an idea, they're testing its very foundation. They are totally comfortable saying, I don't know. They run these silent simulations, playing out whole conversations and all the consequences in their head before they even open their mouth. And they delay judgment. They'd rather wait to be precise than rush to be right. Let's just focus on those 3 words for a second. I don't know. Most of us are absolutely terrified to say them, right? But for a highly intelligent person, admitting they don't know something isn't a weakness at all. It's a sign of profound intellectual honesty. Because the deeper you go into any subject, the more you realize just how much there is to learn. And this, right here, perfectly illustrates something called the Dunning-Kruger effect. It's this well-known bias in psychology where the people who are the least competent are often the most confident. Meanwhile, the true experts, they are painfully aware of their own limits. So when someone says, I don't know, they're often signaling that they understand the topic so well, they can see all the complexity and all the nuance that everybody else is missing. You know, these habits are really just symptoms of the real engine that's running underneath it all. The true superpower of a high IQ mind is pattern recognition. It's this incredible ability to see the invisible threads that connect ideas, events, and people. I mean, take the incredible story of Demis Hassabis. Get this, at just 4 years old, he didn't just learn to play chess, he became obsessed with decoding its underlying system. This obsession led him to become the second best under-14 player in the world. Decades later, he used that exact same pattern-recognizing brain to build AlphaGo, the AI that famously defeated the world's best Go player. He saw the hidden patterns in games, and then in biology, which ultimately won him a Nobel Prize. This ability to find the core pattern isn't just about complexity, it's also about simplifying things. So back in the 1800s, London was being just devastated by cholera. All the top doctors were blaming bad air. But one doctor, John Snow, he ignored all that noise. He did something simple. He plotted every single death on a map. And what did he find? A stunningly simple pattern. The deaths were all clustered around a single water pump. So he had them remove the handle of the pump, and just like that, the epidemic stopped. Genius cuts through the chaos to find the simple, elegant truth. But here's the twist in the story. Having a brain that operates at that speed, at that depth, well, it comes with a huge and often very painful cost. This is not a ticket to a happy, organized life. In fact, it's often the complete opposite. Let's talk about the emotional dark side. And maybe no one put it more bluntly than Ernest Hemingway. There is a deep and often tragic link between extreme intelligence and, well, emotional turmoil. And this isn't just a hunch. We have hard data on this. Researchers studied over 3,700 members of Mensa, that's the High IQ Society. And the results are staggering. While about 10% of the general population has an anxiety disorder, the rate for these certified geniuses was, well, it was through the roof. So what on earth is going on here? Well, the reason seems to be a psychological trait called emotional overexcitability. What this means is that gifted individuals don't just feel emotions, they experience them with extreme intensity, sometimes with actual physical force. They have what's called thin skin, meaning a small criticism that most of us would just brush off can feel like a soul-crushing rejection to them. And this leads to a whole series of psychological traps. because they see errors and inefficiencies everywhere. They can't help but correct people, which often leads to this crushing loneliness. They overthink the tiniest decisions, which leads to something called analysis paralysis. And here's a weird one. Because school was often so easy for them, many never learned how to really struggle. So they lack the grit to push through real adult challenges. And it all kind of culminates in this deep, persistent existential dread, this constant search for a meaning that always feels just out of reach.
Okay, so we've looked at the habits, we've looked at the emotional burdens, but the most mind-bending part of all of this, it's not just about psychology, it's about biology. The actual source code of a high IQ brain is fundamentally different. Neurological studies have shown that while an average brain's wiring kind of solidifies in the teenage years, a high IQ brain is just different. It goes through a much longer and way more intense period of growth. This creates what's called an extended sensitive period. It means their brains stay plastic, like wet clay, and super responsive to their environment for years longer, constantly soaking up patterns long after other brains have already settled down. So, does this biological gift automatically guarantee a successful life? Well, to find out, a landmark study tracked 1,500 children, all with certified genius-level IQs, for over 35 years. And the results? They were not what anyone expected. The researchers compared the 100 most successful adults from this study with the 100 least successful. And here's the absolute kicker. Their IQs were identical. The only difference was their personality. The successful group had things like perseverance, self-confidence, and willpower. The less successful group just didn't. And this leads us to maybe the single most important insight from this entire explainer. A high IQ gives you a world of potential, but it is your personality, your grit, your confidence, your drive that actually pulls the trigger and turns that potential into real-world achievement. So what do we do with all this information? Well, understanding the true nature of a high IQ mind changes everything. How we educate our kids, how we work with our colleagues, and how we connect with the people in our own lives.
Look, the key takeaway here is that we have to stop treating gifted people like they're walking, talking calculators. We have to see them as highly sensitive individuals. It means we need to teach emotional regulation and resilience right alongside math and science. It means praising effort and struggle, not just getting the right answer. And maybe most importantly, it means we have to foster their unstoppable curiosity, because that is the real engine of intelligence.
When you boil it all down, extreme intelligence is this profound paradox. It is the blessing of being able to see the hidden code of the universe, but it comes with the burden of realizing just how little you truly know. It's having the power to simulate 1,000 possible futures in your head while also being cursed to overthink a single text message for an hour. It is both a superpower and a really heavy weight to carry. So I'll leave you with this final thought. As you go about your week, look for the quiet observer. Pay attention to the person who asks the simple questions or the one who's brave enough to admit they don't know. They may not be the loudest person in the room, but they might just be the smartest. So which of these habits do you see in yourself, or maybe in the people you care about?